Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another day of Amonkhet previews. We got a whole bunch of great cards to look at today, actually, and we're in the second week of previews. This is Monday at the time of recording. We'll have 3 more days after this: Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Friday, the full set will then be revealed at that point, and we'll be closing in, of course, a week later for the pre-release. Having said that, quickly before we get started, if you check out the description below, you'll find some links that will help support the channel, one of which is Patreon, and we're really close to our next Patreon goal, so I do encourage a lot of people to take a look at our page and some of the updated goals and rewards, as well as the Amazon affiliate store. You'll find links down there to our storefront, which links to sellers on Amazon, and if you make any purchases from any of those sellers on Amazon through those links, a small percentage will come back to help support the channel. Really goes a long way. Always appreciate that. Having said that, let's get into the cards because we've got a bunch of them. And we're going to start off with the one you see on the screen now. Oketra the True. Now, this is an Italian language preview, although I do think the translation is actually pretty on from what I can tell. Oketra the True, a white and 3, legendary creature god, double strike, indestructible. This is a 3/6. Of course, this is mythic. And this can attack or block unless you control at least 3 other creatures. You can pay a white and 3, create a 1/1 white warrior creature token with vigilance. Here's what I like about this card compared to a couple of the other gods. This is still a niche card. I mean, you still can only play it in certain archetypes. You can't throw this in control deck and expect for it to be turned on very easily, right? But if you play this in a white weenie deck, if you play this in a token generation deck, like a Selesnya token deck or something like that, I don't think it's going to be overly difficult to turn on the attack and block ability. I feel like this is maybe an easier one to get going compared to the other 2 gods we've seen so far. I also really like that mana sink. The fact that I can pay a white and 3, especially if there's a board stall or something, to create more tokens, 1/1 tokens with vigilance. That's actually pretty awesome. I kind of wish they were cat tokens, but warrior tokens will do just fine. Also, it's a very defensive card, being 3/6, but with double strike that also makes it a very offensive card, and it can get in there and rumble and do some serious damage. Now, will it see play in standard? The question is, can the white weenie deck or a Selesnya tokens deck, in that case, make a comeback? If they can, this will definitely be playable. I think the raw power level's there. It just depends on the way the meta goes. Even if it's not immediately, I feel like eventually Oketra will have her chance to shine in standard. As for other formats, I think this could actually be a really fun commander, believe it or not. It's going to be in an all-white deck, obviously, but as your commander and playing a lot of small creatures and then getting this in doesn't cost too much. You can get this commander down relatively quickly and just start attacking in for potentially a lot of commander damage. This could be fun to play around with, try to brew something out of. I think it could be strong there as well. Next, we have a Japanese language spoiler. Loosely translated at this point, it's Censor, a blue and 1 instant, counter target spell unless this controller pays 1, cycling for 1 blue. So it's basically a force spike that is going to cost 1 more. However, you do have the ability to cycle it away if you're in a situation where it's not going to be good for you anymore. That's an interesting give and take. Here's the downside for me. I think a lot of times opponents play into force spike because they don't want to play around the fact that you may or may not have a 1 casting cost answer. So if you're tapped out other than 1 mana, there is a chance that opponents are a little more apt to roll the dice because there's less things that can stop their next play, as opposed to if you have 2 mana open. 2 mana is the red flag. 2 to 3 mana. A lot of players will not want to walk into a trap there. 1 mana, they're a little more apt to walk into the trap. So having said that, in some ways that dilutes the power of this card over, say, a Force Spike or a Mana Tithe. The positive side, you can cycle this away, though, if you're in a situation where the card's just not good anymore. You're up against a control deck, or perhaps you're just in a situation where you're late in the game and your opponent's got like 12 land out. Now you can simply cycle this away. You can't do that with the original version. Now, the ultimate question, is this playable in standard? I think maybe out of the sideboard. I don't see this showing up in main decks necessarily in control builds because you don't want this in the mirror. It's not going to be great there. You may want to play this, however, in decks that are a little more all-in, like a zoo deck or something like that that's trying to cast large creatures, things of that nature, and try to make big plays all at one time. In that case, this is probably a decent counterspell in some of those situations. But the real power of this card is just simply having it in your deck list, probably in the sideboard. Whether you bring it in or not, folks are going to have to play around it. So if there's a popular control deck out there that ends up running 1 or 2 of these in the sideboard, you're going to get the benefit of this regardless of whether you bring it in or not, and you're running a similar deck list, because opponents just have to be aware of it when you start thinking about competitive Magic like GPs and stuff like that, right? So this card has a certain sort of cerebral piece to it that you might not even necessarily have to play it to reap its benefits, and I don't know, it's kind of interesting to look at it that way. But having said that, I don't really see it doing a whole lot more than maybe some sideboard action. Next we have Pull from Tomorrow. This is 2 blue and X. It's an instant, draw X cards, then discard a card, and it's a rare. Now, this is a fantastic control card. This is the card control players in Standard have been waiting for quite some time. Probably ever since Sphinx's Revelation left the format. This is a huge deal for control decks. They've gotten a lot of nice pieces already in this set. They had a lot going on prior to this set. In fact, control decks did really well in the last meta. I mean, whether you consider the just old style control decks, they did pretty good. But even control decks that were using Saheeli combo as a win condition, they did fantastic for a while. So you take a archetype that was already very, very good in the meta, and you add a card like this to it, among others, it's going to go from very good to great. This is going to be a archetype I think we're going to see a whole lot of in the new Standard, and this card is going to propel it there. Now, on top of that, the discard ability, I do want to mention that that can also be used as a benefit. I mean, sometimes it's a minor drawback, obviously, but in a world where you have Madness cards, you have Embalm cards, you have Aftermath cards, that doesn't have to necessarily be a drawback for you. You could find some advantage to discarding something as well. Not to mention the cards we've seen that give you a benefit when you either cycle or discard. There's a few of those that have already been previewed too, so take that into account. The drawback doesn't feel like much of a drawback anymore. In some cases, it's a benefit. This card's phenomenal. So besides Standard, where do you see it being played? I don't know if it translates well into Modern, just because you have Sphinx's Revelation, and I don't know that the decks that are running that are going to necessarily say, I'm going to take out Sphinx's and put this in. I feel like, for the most part, overwhelming majority of decks are just going to keep Sphinx's. As far as limited goes, it's still good there because you have the ability to draw some cards, even if it's not huge amounts. Just cycling this and drawing another card or two can be quite good for you there. And also, again, sometimes you'll get some benefit from the discard trigger too. And finally, casual formats will love this, Commander and so on. I mean, this is a really, really good card. Next, we have a Korean language preview card. It's Liliana's Mastery, loosely translated. 2 black and 3. It's an enchantment. Zombies you control get +1/+1. When this enters the battlefield, create 2 2/2 zombie tokens. As far as Standard goes with this card, I feel like it's going to be super contingent upon Zombie Tribal being able to break into the meta. I don't know if it's quite there. I mean, we do have some pieces from the Shadows block. We've seen a lot of interesting Orzhov cards in this particular block, because all the Embalm cards, of course, can come back as zombies. So there's some potential there, but you do have to think about how tight some of these decks right now in Standard are. I mean, Mardu Vehicles, as well as 4-color Saheeli, they really have choked some of the diversity out of the format, and any sort of Zombie Tribal or even some Rakdos Tribal aggro decks have been able to sometimes break through, but they're more like blips in the radar. Can cards from this set change that? Potentially. We have to see what else is coming. If that happens, then yes, this will see some Standard play. It's a great zombie anthem at the 5 spot, and it also gives you a few more zombie tokens. There's nothing wrong with that. It could potentially be just good enough to get there. But if the archetype can't get there in the current meta, then I think we're going to be looking at a card that's probably more of a commander card than anything, but a good one for any sort of zombie tribal commander theme. Next we have Never to Return. The Never side is a sorcery, 2 black and 1, destroy target creature or planeswalker, return a black and 3 sorcery, Aftermath, exile target card from a graveyard, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. First thing I'm going to say about this card, I'm a little disappointed it's not an instant. It's a sorcery. Is that still good enough to see Standard play? Yeah, sure it is. It's going to see play, I have no doubt. It's a straightforward removal spell in black. It's strong enough. But would it have been too strong as an instant? I mean, I haven't play tested the set or anything, obviously. Can't say for sure, but I feel like it would have been okay. And yeah, it would have sped things up a little bit, and it would have been another tool for Control. Maybe Control's already got too many tools, I don't know. But I just feel like I really wanted to see this as an instant. And we've seen cards similar before, right? Runea's Path is a card that's still in the format. This is actually a card that has seen plenty of play in Standard, so this can definitely get there. The question is, do you use Runea's Path or do you use Never to Return? It depends on what you want to do with your secondary ability here. I mean, Awaken 4 was actually pretty good, and I think it was better than a lot of people anticipated when this card was originally spoiled, and it comes into play more than you would think it would in a matchup, I think. Although, in a world where graveyards do matter more and more, with things like Delirium, Embalm, and Aftermath, I feel like Never to Return is probably the more applicable card for the current meta, and I think that's one you're going to see at least right now. So, there it is. Not too much more to say about it than that. Kind of wish it was an instant, but it's definitely playable. Next, we have Vizier of the Menagerie, and this was actually Wedge's preview card for the Mana Source. It costs a green at 3. This one's a Mythic. Naga Cleric 3/4. You may look at the top card of your library. You can do this at any time. You may cast the top card of your library if it's a creature card, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any type to cast creature spells. The first thing I'm going to say is I like the fact that I can look at the card and I don't have to reveal it. I mean, we've seen similar cards to this in the past, and you've had to reveal the top card, like Oracle, for example. But this time I get to look at it, and I have information my opponent doesn't have. All right, I like that. The second line, basically quasi-card advantage. I mean, not all the time, but if there's a creature card on top of your library, it's kind of like drawing that card. You have access to it. So you have a little bit of, sometimes limited, but good card advantage at given times, and only you know if you have that advantage or not. That's actually pretty awesome. The third part, it's color fixing. I can cast my creatures with any type of mana I have. All right, I like that quite a bit too. And not to mention the fact it's a 3/4 for 4. I mean, those are decent stats. It's not something that can be easily burned away necessarily. And in a pinch, if your opponent's behind, it can rumble in there. A 3/4 can even do a little bit of damage. So there's a lot of raw power behind this card. Now, I don't know exactly where it's going to fit in the standard meta, but I do think at some point, even if it's not right now, I think that you could see potentially some sort of green or Gruul deck that is going to want to play a card like this. Red and green have gotten a lot of nice tools too. When you talk about the Esper colors getting a lot of good control tools, well, green and red are getting a lot of just beat down, aggressive tools, and this is definitely another one of them. So yeah, I do think it can eventually get there into standard. Maybe some modern play. Again, I can't really think of what deck is going to truly want this, at least right now, but this is still a very good card. It has a lot of raw power. As far as Commander goes, I love the color fixing piece for Commander. I mean, granted, if you have a good Commander deck, hopefully your mana base is together, but when it does trip up, if you have something like this, maybe even to help you cast your Commander, that could be pretty cool too. So overall, another card that I really, really like from today. All right, having said that, those are today's cards. A little bit less than we were seeing last week, but you know what? I'm okay with that because I feel like we got some stronger cards today. I'm happier to see less better cards and a whole bunch of not as exciting cards. So this was actually a pretty good day. Now, we'll be back tomorrow with everything that has been spoiled over the next 24 hours to do a recap and quick analysis of the cards for you. But until then, as always, thanks for watching. If you're on YouTube or VidMe, please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.